Hey there, deep diver. You know what's funny? We use Google for almost everything these days. But have you ever stopped to think about how they got so big
Right.
today?
It's kind of crazy.
We're going to unpack Google's wild ride from a simple idea
Yeah.
cooked up in a dorm room to the tech behemoth it is today.
It's a journey filled with innovation, risk-taking.
Really?
And even some stumbles along the way.
Interesting.
It really highlights how a company can shape the digital world we live in.
Okay, let's rewind all the way back to 1996.
Way back.
Picture this.
Yeah.
Larry Page and Sergey Brin,
Uh-huh.
two PhD students at Stanford,
Okay.
are tinkering away, not satisfied with the search engines of the day.
The ones...
What sparked their big idea?
Well, it all started with a simple yet powerful observation. Page and Brin realized that the way academics cite each other's work could actually be applied to the internet.
Okay.
Websites with more high-quality links
Right.
pointing to them must be more valuable, right?
Oh, so it's like a popularity contest, but for websites? And the votes are quality links.
That's a great way to put it.
That's actually pretty clever.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how this led to Google.
Well, they called their early project Backrub.
Backrub.
It was all about analyzing these backlinks to figure out a website's importance
Okay.
rather than just matching keywords like those clunky old search engines like Yahoo and Ultra Vista.
Ultra Vista, yeah, I remember those.
And you know what? It worked.
Really?
Backrub blew the competition out of the water with its more relevant search results.
Wow. So it sounds like they were really onto something.
It was the seed that would eventually blossom into the Google we know and love.
So we've got this revolutionary idea taking shape, but I'm guessing the journey from a dorm room to global domination wasn't exactly a walk in the park, was it?
You're absolutely right.
What were some of the challenges they faced early on?
One of the biggest hurdles they faced was funding.
Funding, yeah, that makes sense.
Back in the late 90s, not everyone saw the potential of a new search engine.
Right.
It took some serious convincing
I bet.
before they finally secured a crucial $25 million investment in 1999.
Okay, so that's when things really started to take off.
That's when things really started to work.
Okay, so they've got the funding and the tech.
Uh-huh.
What was the next big leap forward?
Fast forward to 2000,
Okay.
and Google launches AdWords.
AdWords.
This was a complete game changer for the world of digital marketing.
Oh, really? How so?
Imagine businesses being able to show their ads to people at the very moment they were searching for products or services just like theirs.
So that's like targeted advertising on a whole new level.
Yeah.
It seems like a win-win for both Google and businesses.
Exactly. AdWords allowed Google to monetize their search engine in a way that had never been done before.
Wow.
And for businesses, it opened up a whole new world of highly effective marketing.
Interesting.
It really laid the foundation for the advertising empire Google would eventually build.
From humble beginnings to a stroke of marketing genius.
Yeah.
It seems like Google had a knack for creating products people actually wanted to use, right?
They did, and that's one of the key takeaways here.
Okay.
But their journey was just getting started. Bringing in Eric Schmidt as CEO in 2001 was a pivotal moment.
Eric Schmidt.
He brought the kind of business experience
I see.
that helped Google transform from a scrappy startup into a global powerhouse.
Okay, so we have the brains, the funding, the product,
Right.
and now a seasoned CEO.
Uh-huh.
What happened next?
Get ready for Google's major growth spurt.
Oh, this is where things get interesting.
It all started with their IPO in 2004, which raised a staggering $1.66 billion and valued the company at $23 billion.
Whoa, that's just mind-blowing.
I know, right?
It makes you wonder what they were doing right that others weren't.
Yeah.
Did they just keep innovating at lightning speed?
They did, and they weren't afraid to shake things up.
Okay, give me some examples.
In the same year as IPO, they launched Gmail, which completely changed how we think about email.
Email.
Think back to those days. Email storage was tiny.
Yeah.
Gmail offered a whopping gigabyte of free storage, which was unheard of at the time.
It's like going from a cramped closet to a spacious walk-in wardrobe for your emails.
Exactly.
But their innovations didn't stop there, did they?
Absolutely not. They had their eyes set on the future,
Okay.
and the future was mobile.
Mobile. Interesting.
In 2005, Google acquired Android, a move that would have a massive impact on the mobile landscape.
So they saw the potential of smartphones
Exactly.
before most people even knew what they were.
Way ahead of the curve.
Talk about being ahead of the curve.
And what made Android so revolutionary was that it was open source, meaning anyone could use and modify the software. This allowed manufacturers to create a huge variety of devices at different price points, making smartphones accessible to a much wider audience.
That's a great point.
And that, my friend, is how Android became the dominant force in the smartphone market.
Wow, what a power move. It seems like Google was on a roll. What other big changes were happening during this period?
Hold on tight, because they were just getting started.
Okay, I'm ready.
2005 also saw the launch of Google Maps.
Google Maps?
And Google Earth.
Google Earth,
Forever changing how we navigate and explore the world around us.
Yeah, remember those giant, unwieldy paper maps?
I do.
Google made them practically obsolete overnight.
It's amazing how quickly things changed.
Talk about a world-changing innovation.
For sure.
I can't even imagine navigating without Google Maps these days.
Me neither.
But what about YouTube? I read that Google acquired them during this time too.
You're right. In 2006, they snatched up YouTube for $1.65 billion.
Wow.
It seems like a risky gamble at the time.
I bet.
But boy, did it pay off.
It did, yeah.
YouTube has become the ultimate destination for video content, from silly cat videos to educational tutorials and everything in between.
So we see Google expanding beyond search, venturing into mobile, mapping, and video content.
That's right.
It seems like they had an incredible knack for spotting emerging trends and capitalizing on them.
It's true, they weren't just following trends, they were shaping them.
That's a good point.
And a big part of their success was driven by their advertising model.
Makes sense.
After all those free services have to generate revenue somehow.
That's a great point. You can't give everything away for free forever. How did they manage to build such a massive advertising empire?
It all boils down to their massive reach and incredibly sophisticated targeting capabilities. With Google Search capturing over 90% of the global market.
Wow. 90%.
They have access to an unprecedented amount of data about user behavior.
I see.
This allows them to deliver highly relevant ads to the right people at precisely the right time.
So their dominance in search gave them a significant edge in the advertising world?
Exactly.
But surely there must be some downsides to relying so heavily on advertising, right?
You've hit on a crucial point.
Okay, good.
And that's where things start to get really interesting.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore the double-edged sword of advertising. Google's attempts to diversify its revenue streams. And the challenges they face from intense competition and increased legal scrutiny.
This is getting really juicy. I can't wait to uncover the next chapter in the Google saga.
Me too. It's going to be good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Google story. Last time we uncovered how Google's innovative spirit and savvy business moves propelled them to incredible success.
Yeah.
Especially with their advertising model.
Yes, but as with any business, relying too heavily on one revenue stream can make you vulnerable.
Okay, that makes sense. So what are some of the challenges that come with being so dependent on advertising revenue?
Well, think about what happens when the economy takes a hit. Businesses tighten their budgets, and often one of the first things to go is advertising spending.
Right, because companies are trying to cut costs wherever they can. So that would directly impact Google's bottom line.
Exactly. And then you have the rise of ad blockers. More and more people are using software that prevents ads from even loading, which means Google misses out on potential revenue.
That's a good point. I actually use an ad blocker myself. But haven't there also been growing privacy concerns surrounding Google's data collection?
Absolutely. People are increasingly aware of just how much data Google collects and how it's used for targeted advertising. This has led to stricter privacy regulations like GDPR in Europe, which limits how Google can use user data.
So it seems like Google realized they couldn't afford to put all their eggs in the advertising basket. What steps did they take to diversify their revenue streams?
One of their biggest pushes has been into cloud computing with Google Cloud Platform, or GCP for short.
GCP.
It's a suite of cloud services that includes everything from data storage and analytics to machine learning and AI tools.
So instead of just focusing on consumers, they're targeting businesses as well.
Precisely. They're going head-to-head with giants like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure in a very competitive market.
That sounds like a tough battle.
Yeah.
How is Google trying to stand out from the crowd?
They're leveraging their strengths in AI and machine learning.
Okay.
For example, GCP offers BigQuery, a blazing fast data analytics tool, and Vertex AI, which helps businesses build and deploy machine learning models.
Interesting.
These tools are a huge draw for companies that need to analyze massive amounts of data quickly and efficiently.
It sounds like they're using their AI expertise as a key differentiator.
Yeah.
Has this strategy been successful so far?
It's definitely showing promise. GCP has experienced impressive growth, generating over $33 billion in revenue in 2023 alone.
Wow.
While they're still behind AWS and Azure, they're definitely making significant strides.
So cloud computing is one way Google is diversifying. What other avenues have they explored?
They've also made a big push into hardware with their Pixel smartphones, Nest smart home devices, and Fitbit wearables, to name a few.
It's like they want to have a presence in every aspect of our digital lives.
Oh,
Are they trying to build a Google-powered ecosystem like Apple has done with its products?
that's a good observation. They're creating an interconnected world where all their devices and services work seamlessly together.
Okay.
You can control your Nest thermostat from your Pixel phone, track your fitness with Fitbit, and it all ties back to your Google account.
It sounds like they're taking a page from Apple's playbook. But it's not just about hardware, is it? Didn't I read something about Google's Other Bets division? What exactly is that all about?
Ah, yes. Other bets. That's where Google gets to unleash its more experimental side, pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Like what?
A great example is Waymo, their self-driving car company.
Self-driving cars. That sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie. Are they actually on the roads?
They are. Waymo is already testing its autonomous vehicles in several cities and making significant progress. Then you have Verily, which is focusing on healthcare technology, tackling everything from disease detection to developing new medical devices.
Wow, from self-driving cars to revolutionizing healthcare? Seems like Google has some pretty ambitious goals.
They certainly do. They're not content with just being a search engine or an advertising giant. They want to solve some of the world's biggest challenges using technology.
It's clear that Google is constantly evolving, pushing the limits of innovation. But let's be honest, they haven't always been successful, have they? What about those projects that didn't quite pan out?
You're right. Even a company as innovative as Google has had its share of missteps. And you know what? That's okay. Even failures can be incredibly valuable learning experiences.
That's a great point. Failure is often a necessary part of growth and innovation. What are some of the projects that come to mind when you think about Google's less successful ventures?
One that stands out is Google plus their attempt to rival Facebook in the social media arena.
Google Plus, right?
It launched in 2011 with a lot of fanfare, but it ultimately failed to gain traction. Do you remember using Google Plus?
Vaguely. I think I created an account, but I never really used it. I was already hooked on Facebook, and most of my friends were too. What were some of the reasons behind Google Plus's downfall?
Well, for starters, they were late to the game. Facebook was already the dominant player, and most people were heavily invested in their Facebook networks. It's tough to convince people to switch platforms when they're already comfortable with one.
Yeah, it's like trying to launch a new cola when everyone already loves Coke and Pepsi. Were there other factors that contributed to its failure?
Yes, Google Plus also lacked a clear differentiator. They had some interesting features like circles for organizing contacts, but it wasn't enough to entice users away from Facebook?
So it wasn't just bad timing. They didn't offer a compelling enough reason to switch.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, Google Plus was plagued by privacy concerns, culminating in a series of data breaches. Ultimately, they shut it down in 2019.
It seems like Google Plus is a cautionary tale about the importance of timing differentiation and addressing privacy concerns, especially in a competitive market.
You're spot on. And speaking of costly lessons, their acquisition of Motorola Mobility in 2011 is another example of a venture that didn't go as planned.
Motorola Mobility.
They shelled out a whopping $12.5 billion to acquire the smartphone maker, hoping to boost their hardware presence and gain access to Motorola's extensive patent portfolio.
So they were trying to protect Android by acquiring a major hardware manufacturer? Did it work?
Not really. Motorola struggled to compete with the likes of Apple and Samsung, and Google ended up selling it to Lenovo just 3 years later for a fraction of the purchase price. It turned out to be a very expensive experiment.
Ouch. That's a tough lesson in the complexities of the hardware business.
It certainly is. But even these failures highlight an important aspect of Google's culture: their willingness to experiment and take risks. They understand that not every bet is going to pay off, but they're committed to learning from their mistakes and moving forward.
It's that kind of adaptability and resilience that has kept them at the forefront of innovation. But let's not forget that with great power comes great scrutiny. What are some of the legal and regulatory challenges that Google has faced over the years?
As Google's size and influence grew, they inevitably attracted the attention of regulators, particularly concerning antitrust and privacy.
Let's start with antitrust. What kind of legal battles has Google been fighting?
Well, their dominance in search and advertising has made them a prime target for antitrust lawsuits, particularly in the US and Europe. Regulators have accused them of using their market power to stifle competition.
Can you give us some specific examples of these antitrust concerns?
Sure. In the US, they've been accused of making deals with companies like Apple to ensure Google search is the default option on iPhones and other devices.
Okay.
This makes it harder for rival search engines to gain a foothold.
So they're using their influence to maintain their dominance in search. What about the European Union? I've heard they've been particularly tough on Google.
You're right. The EU has imposed billions of dollars in fines on Google for various antitrust violations. For example, they were penalized for favoring their own shopping comparison services in search results, pushing competitors down the list. They were also fined for requiring Android device manufacturers to pre-install Google apps, which gave them an unfair advantage.
It seems like regulators are trying to rein in Google's attempts to leverage its dominance in one area to gain an advantage in others.
Exactly. These antitrust lawsuits highlight the growing concern over Google's immense power and the potential impact on competition and consumer choice.
It's a tricky balance between fostering innovation and preventing monopolies.
It is. And it's a debate that's likely to continue for years to come. But antitrust isn't the only legal challenge Google has faced. They've also been under fire for their data collection practices.
That's definitely a hot-button issue these days. Everyone is concerned about how their data is being used, especially by big tech companies like Google.
Rightfully so. Google collects a vast amount of data about our online behavior, from our search history to our location data to the videos we watch on YouTube.
Right.
They argue that this data is used to improve their services and provide us with more relevant ads. But some people feel it's an invasion of their privacy.
That's the heart of the debate. Where's the line between personalization and surveillance?
Exactly.
It's becoming increasingly blurry.
Yeah.
And this has led to stricter privacy regulations like GDPR, which aim to give users more control over their data. So Google has had to adapt to these new regulations, which has probably limited their ability to use data for targeted advertising. It seems like they're constantly walking a tightrope between innovation and user privacy.
They are. It's a constant balancing act. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about Google's incredible journey in the stock market. Their IPO back in 2004 was a major milestone in tech history.
It certainly was. Their IPO was a huge success, raising $1.66 billion and instantly valuing the company at $23 billion. It showed just how much faith investors had in our potential to revolutionize the tech world.
And they've certainly lived up to those expectations. Today, Alphabet, Google's parent company, is one of the most valuable companies in the world, with a market cap that has surpassed $2 trillion.
That's an astronomical figure. What are some of the key factors behind Google's phenomenal stock performance?
Well, their advertising revenue has played a major role, of course, but their expansion into cloud computing and hardware has also contributed significantly. And let's not forget their investments in AI, which are widely seen as a major driver of future growth.
It seems like Google has managed to find that sweet spot between maximizing their existing strengths and venturing into new and exciting territories.
They have. They're not afraid to disrupt themselves and embrace new technologies, which is crucial for long-term success in the rapidly changing tech landscape.
It's been a wild ride for Google, from a dorm room project to a global powerhouse. But as we know, the story isn't over yet.
Indeed. As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, the big question is, what does the future hold for Google? What new frontiers will they explore? How will they navigate the increasing scrutiny from regulators? These are the questions we'll tackle in the final part of our episode. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the Google story. We've covered a lot of ground, from their humble beginnings to their global dominance, their incredible innovations, their strategic acquisitions, and even their missteps along the way.
And we've explored the challenges they face, from fierce competition and legal scrutiny to the delicate balance between innovation and user privacy. But now it's time to look ahead. what does the future hold for Google?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Predicting the future, especially in the fast-paced world of technology, is like trying to predict the weather a year in advance.
Yeah.
But surely there are some clues we can gather from their past actions and their current priorities.
Absolutely. One thing that's crystal clear is Google's unwavering commitment to artificial intelligence, or AI.
AI?
They see AI as the key to unlocking solutions to some of the world's most pressing problems.
Hey, you're right. AI is everywhere these days, from self-driving cars to personalized medicine.
Everywhere.
It's even changing the way we create art and music.
Yeah.
How is Google positioning itself in this increasingly AI-powered world?
They're investing heavily in AI research and development. Their DeepMind subsidiary has made groundbreaking advances in AI, like AlphaGo, the program that defeated a world champion Go player.
AlphaGo.
But they've also been pushing the boundaries with generative AI tools.
Okay, I've heard that term generative AI being thrown around a lot lately, but I'll admit I'm still a little fuzzy on what it actually is. Can you break it down for me?
Sure. Imagine an AI that can create new content,
Yeah.
like text, images, music,
Wow.
and even code.
Really?
Think of an AI that can write poetry,
Mm-hmm.
compose a symphony,
Wow.
or paint a masterpiece. That's what generative AI is all about.
That's incredible. It sounds like AI is evolving from simply analyzing information to actually creating something new.
Exactly.
What are the potential implications of this technology?
The possibilities are truly mind-boggling. Generative AI has the potential to revolutionize creative industries like advertising, marketing, entertainment, and education.
Interesting.
It can also automate tasks, enhance customer service, and even lead to the development of groundbreaking new medical treatments.
It seems like Google is betting big on AI being the next major technological revolution. But I imagine they're not alone in this race, are they?
You're absolutely right. Every major tech company is scrambling to stake their claim in the AI landscape. It's going to be fascinating to see how this competition unfolds and what amazing innovations emerge from it.
So AI is one area where we can expect to see Google pushing the boundaries. What other frontiers are they likely to explore in the future?
Well, quantum computing is another exciting area where Google is making significant investments.
Quantum computing.
They're literally trying to harness the strangeness of quantum mechanics to create computers that can perform calculations that are impossible for traditional computers.
Quantum computing. That sounds even more futuristic than AI. What could this technology be used for?
It has the potential to revolutionize fields like drug discovery, material science, and financial modeling.
I see.
Imagine being able to design new drugs or materials at the atomic level,
Wow.
or create financial models that can predict market trends with unprecedented accuracy.
That sounds like something straight out of Star Trek. But I imagine there are still some major hurdles to overcome before quantum computing becomes widely available.
You're right. Quantum computers are incredibly complex and expensive to build. It will likely be years, if not decades, before we see them become mainstream. But Google is positioning itself to be a leader in this emerging field.
So we have AI and quantum computing, but Google's ambitions go beyond these cutting-edge technologies, don't they?
They do. They're also tackling more down-to-earth challenges like expanding internet access to underserved communities around the world.
That's a really important initiative. In today's world, access to the internet is crucial for education, communication, and economic opportunity. It's practically a human right.
Exactly. Google has launched projects like Project Loon, which used high-altitude balloons to beam internet access to remote areas.
I remember reading about that.
And Google Station, which provided free Wi-Fi hotspots in public spaces. They're actively trying to bridge the digital divide.
It's great to see them using their technological prowess to make a positive impact. But they're not just focused on internet access, are they? What about their sustainability efforts?
They're making significant strides in that area as well. Google has committed to using 100% renewable energy for all its operations and is investing heavily in projects that reduce their carbon footprint.
It's refreshing to see a company of Google's size taking environmental responsibility seriously. It seems like they're genuinely trying to use their power and influence for good. But as we discussed earlier, they're not without their critics, are they?
That's true. Their dominance in search and advertising has raised concerns about potential anti-competitive practices. And their data collection practices have sparked debates about privacy and surveillance.
Those are complex issues with no easy answers. It seems like Google will need to walk a fine line as they move forward, balancing innovation with ethical considerations.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even the most innovative and successful companies have a responsibility to wield their power ethically and responsibly.
As we wrap up our deep dive into the Google story, it's clear that they have played a pivotal role in shaping the digital world as we know it, and are likely to continue to be a major force in the years to come.
Their journey has been nothing short of remarkable, filled with brilliant innovations, bold moves, and a few stumbles along the way. It will be fascinating to see what new challenges they tackle and what groundbreaking technologies they bring to the world.
It's a reminder that the world of technology is constantly evolving, and companies like Google are at the forefront of that evolution. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Google story. It's been an incredible journey.